Hey guys, this is interesting, Andrew. This is going to be a finishing of question 12. It was so dense that I had to break it up. I couldn't finish reading it straight. It was exhausting. Nature of theology and philosophy, I'm afraid. So we'll be picking up on question 12, article 6 on page 125. I have written my own notes, and only for one part am I going to read directly from the text just because I couldn't add anything or cut it down. So, question 12, article 6, page 125. Whether of those who see the essence of God one sees more perfectly than another is the question. The objections are all will see God perfectly because of the vision being intellectual rather than via the eye. I can see the point to that. Um, but I found his argument on it very enlightening. And so I'll just jump right to that. He answers, on the contrary, it does not take place as if one has greater similitude to God, but it will take place because of one's intellect will have a greater power or faculty to see God than another. I'll just continue because he'll get to it. However, the seeing of God is not due to natural intellect, but it is deformity from the grace and glory of God. So the word he uses, deformity, it is a changing or mutation that would occur in that people's closeness to God uh, will allow them a greater capacity to see the essence of God. And so somebody who would be extremely connected to God versus someone who maybe wasn't as active in their faith life as they probably should have been, will be able to see a greater fidelity of God one versus the other. And so like somebody who was, really, really focused on God is going to have a greater clarity when they see God. Okay, I thought that was actually pretty nice, and it's also a nice reward for somebody who reached out to hundreds of people versus somebody who may have found God at church camp or something, but kind of left it as a private faith. Okay, so question 12, article 7, page 127, whether those who see the essence of God comprehend him. The objections are, Paul says, but I follow after, if I may, by any means comprehend, ... And this is pulled from the book of Philemon, chapter 3, verse 12. And then it goes to another Bible verse, I ... so run, not as at an uncertainty. And that would be 1 Corinthians 9, verse 26. Therefore, he comprehended and invites others to do the same. Like, basically, they're setting it up that these are all points that there's an actual intellectual comprehension of the being of God and his infinitude. Okay, the answer from Aquinas is, on the contrary, it is written in Jeremiah 32, verses 18 through 19. Almost, my dog's barking. And so I'm back from my dog. He had to go to the restroom. Okay, so I'll just start again on the contrary. It is written in Jeremiah 32, verses 18 through 19. O most mighty, great and powerful, the Lord of hosts is thy name, great in counsel and incomprehensible in thought. It is impossible for any created intellect to comprehend God, yet for the mind to attain to God in some degree is a great beatitude. That was written by Augustine. But no created intellect can attain to that perfect mode of the knowledge of the divine intellect whereof it is intrinsically capable. God, whose being is infinite, as shown in question 7, is infinitely knowable. Now, no created intellect can know God infinitely, For the created intellect knows the divine essence more or less perfectly in proportion as it receives a greater or lesser light of glory. So again, different people have different levels of comprehension based upon what um, in Protestant circles we would call sanctification, like how close you are to God. You'll have a greater comprehension. And then, of course, there is like through study and stuff like that, or on like fasting or prayer, anything to draw closer to God is going to assist with that. But then in heaven, it would be um, also, I think, rewarded as a glorifying of your intellect and comprehension of God based on merit. Um, just because you desired it so much. And then question 12, Article 13, page 137, whether by grace a higher knowledge of God can be obtained by natural reason. For this answer, I just have to read from it because I thought it was so good. Um, so, he says, I answer that a more perfect knowledge of God by grace than by natural reason, which is proved thus. The knowledge which we have by natural reason contains two things: images derived from a sensible object and natural intelligent light, enabling us to abstract them from them intelligible conceptions. Now, in both these, human knowledge is assisted by the revelation of grace. For the intellect's natural light is strengthened by the infusion of gratuitous light, and sometimes also the images in the human imagination are divinely formed, so as to express divine things better than those do which we receive from sensible objects, as appears in prophetic visions, while sometimes sensible things or even voices are divinely formed to express some divine meaning, as in the baptism Holy Ghost was seen in the shape of a dove, and the voice of the Father was heard, "This is my beloved Son," Matthew 3:17. So basically, yes, just again, through God's enlightening us and how much grace is poured out upon us to comprehend Him, um, that's what it's dependent upon. Um, but it's definitely a gift from God to more so than natural reason. And that's the crux of that one is like, if it was up to natural reason alone, the Greek philosophers and stuff would have found it. Um, but it has to be from God's revealed word, and then also our closeness with Him, spiritual gifts, prophecy, Old Testament, New Testament, and active, and then yeah, visions which God can use on the individual level. These all allow us to ascertain higher knowledge of Him and our relationship with Him, more so than natural reason would ever enable us to do. So that is it for question 12. I'm going to try to knock out all of question 13 in the next video. It's on the names of God, and there's like 8 or more articles on it, and it should be pretty dense, but I think we should be able to make it into one video. We'll see if I make a liar out of myself. Now, I'm thinking about reading in parallel, just like giving book reviews, either on Charles Dickens. So this one has, um, you know, Tales of Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, Great Expectations, and A Tale of Two Cities. A Tale of Two Cities I'm actually pretty interested in because I've heard quotes from it, and I thought it sounded really good. Or we have the works of David Hume, which is the history of England. This is a series of books, and it would be a historical account for the development of England. Both sound really interesting. I personally would prefer to go more nonfiction on this, but I'm going to leave it up to the audience. If anyone has a strong preference, to just let me know. But that's it. This has been interesting, Andrew. Thank you very much for tuning in.